The shuttle door hissed open, and cold recycled air rushed in, carrying the sharp smell of metal and alien sweat. Lieutenant Mara Voss stepped out first. Her boots made soft thuds on the docking ramp. She wore a plain black jumpsuit, with the small earth patch on her shoulder. Nothing fancy. No glowing armor, no extra limbs, just her and a small duffel bag slung over one shoulder. She looked around with calm hazel eyes, taking in the huge hangar bay of the Galactic Combat Academy. Around her, the other new cadets spilled out. Some floated on anti-grav pads, others clicked mandibles or flexed extra arms. The place buzzed with low voices and strange chirps in dozens of languages. Mara stayed quiet. She walked straight toward the wide corridor that led to the main hall, her steps steady and even. Inside the auditorium, thousands of seats rose in curved rows like a giant bowl. Lights glowed soft blue overhead. Huge screens showed training clips of warriors smashing targets or dodging energy blasts. Cadets already sat in groups by species. The tall crystal-skinned Vorans sparkled under the lights. The four-armed Clethians gestured wildly with all hands. The insect-like trainees from hive worlds rubbed feelers together in what looked like laughter. When Mara entered, the noise dropped for a second, then rose again with chuckles and clicks. She felt hundreds of eyes on her. A short human with no visible weapons, no thick hide, no natural weapons at all. One Clethian cadet leaned over to his friend and spoke loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Look at that one from Earth. Their planet has such weak gravity, she will snap like dry twig in first spar." Mara heard it. She kept walking to an empty seat near the front. She sat down, placed her bag between her feet, and folded her hands in her lap. Her face stayed calm, no frown, no glare, just quiet watching. The instructors marched in. At the head of the group stood Drill Sergeant Kor, a massive Tauran with curling horns and shoulders. Wide as a door, he carried a data slate in one huge hand. His voice boomed through the hall. "New cadets, you come here to become warriors of the Coalition. Some of you already strong, some of you think you are strong. We will find out who lies to themselves today. We sort you into training groups, baseline, medium, high, and apex. Look at the screens for your names." Names flashed across the giant screens. Groups appeared. Baseline for the physically weaker species, medium for most, high for the tough ones, apex for the monsters who could crack asteroids with bare hands. Mara Voss appeared under baseline. A ripple of laughter spread through the room. A tentacled trainee from the low-mass worlds waved a limb and called out, "Baseline? Really? They put the human with the floaters and the soft skins? She must break easy." Another voice joined in, "Yeah, Earth power, what a joke. Their world barely pulls you down. They call that a death world? Ha!" Mara did not turn. She kept her eyes on the instructor Kor, raised one thick hand for silence. The laughter died fast. He continued, "Baseline does not mean weak. It means you start without the gifts others were born with. You must earn every step. Some species here never had to earn strength. They grew it in the egg or the shell. Humans did not get that luxury. Remember that when you mock." The words hung in the air for a moment. Then the cadets shifted and whispered again. Most ignored the warning. The Clethian who spoke first leaned back, crossed all four arms, and grinned at his friends. "She will quit by week 1, mark my words." After the sorting, the cadets moved to their assigned barracks. Mara followed the baseline group down a long hallway. The walls glowed with soft light panels, showing maps of the academy floors. Training pits, mess halls, medical bays, everything clean and bright. Her group included small, delicate beings from thin atmosphere worlds, a few feathered avians who hopped instead of walked, and one quiet jelly-like creature that rolled along in a moist tank on wheels. They reached the barracks door. It slid open to show rows of bunks, each with a personal locker and a small desk. Mara picked the bottom bunk nearest the door. She dropped her bag and started unpacking simple clothes, a few books in paper, a worn pair of fingerless gloves, and one small photo of her family back on Earth. She set the photo on the desk and looked at it for a long second, then turned to make her bed. A small avian cadet fluttered over and landed lightly on the bunk above hers. "Hello, I am Tira from the sky rings of Calyx. You are Mara, right? From Earth?" "Yes," Mara answered, her voice low and even. Tira tilted her head. "You do not talk much. The others laugh at you already. They say humans are soft." Mara shrugged. "Maybe they think that now. We will see." Tira fluffed her feathers. "I like quiet people. You seem steady, not scared, not angry, just steady. That is good in this place." Mara gave a small nod. "Thanks. Most here want to show off right away." Finished making the bed tight corners military style. Then sat down and pulled on the fingerless gloves, flexing her fingers a few times. That night the barracks filled with chatter. Aliens compared homeworlds, bragged about hunts, battles, storms survived. Mara listened without joining in. She lay on her bunk, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. Lights dimmed to sleep cycle. She thought about home, dusty roads, old gyms, cracked boxing rings, the smell of sweat and leather, the burn in her arms after hours of hitting bags until her knuckles bled. She thought about the day she decided to leave Earth to come here, to prove something, not to anyone else, just to herself. Morning came fast. A klaxon blared through the barracks. Lights snapped bright. Cadets jumped up or rolled out of bunks. Mara stood first, already dressed. She grabbed a towel and headed to the wash area. The others followed slower, rubbing eyes or stretching limbs. In the washroom, she splashed cold water on her face, dried off and tied her hair back, tight, no-nonsense style. First training session started in the main pit, a huge open circle of reinforced ceramite floor, surrounded by tiered seats for watchers. Instructors stood at the edges, barking orders, warm-up laps around the pit 10 times full speed. Mara ran with the group, her strides short but steady. She passed some of the slower baseline cadets but never pushed to front. She kept pace, breathing even, never gasped, never slowed. After laps came basic strength test. Each cadet stepped up to a heavy bar loaded with weight plates. Most baseline species struggled at 50 units. Mara walked up, gripped the bar, lifted clean and pressed overhead, 10 times smooth, no shake, no grunt. The instructor raised one brow plate, not bad for baseline. Next. The jeering started again. A Clithian called from the seats. 50 units, my hatchling lifts that with one tentacle. Mara ignored him. Set the bar down, walked back to her place in line, face still calm. Hall trays floated on anti-grav pads. Cadets grabbed food from dispensers. Mara took a simple plate. Protein strips, vegetable mash, bread roll. She sat alone at a small table near the wall. Tira fluttered over and joined her. "May I sit?" "Sure," Mara said. Tira pecked of her food. "You lift well for baseline." "They still laugh, though," Mara chewed slowly. "Let them laugh. Words do not break bones." Tira looked around the room. "They think humans are weak because your world has no giant predators, no acid rain, no crushing gravity." Mara swallowed her bite. "Our world tried to kill us every day for 1,000,000 years. We did not get big teeth or thick shells. We got stubborn. We kept running, we kept fighting, we kept getting up. That is our gift." Tira blinked big eyes. "Stubborn, I like that word." Afternoon brought 0G training in a sealed chamber. Gravity shut off. Cadets floated free. Most moved smooth with natural grace or tech assists. Mara pushed off a wall, slow at first, clumsy, then faster. She watched others, twice, then copied their spins and twists. By the third lap, she moved clean. No wasted motion. An instructor noticed and nodded. One small praise, but real. Back in the barracks that night, Mara sat on her bunk, unwrapping her gloves. She looked at her knuckles, already red from the day's work. She rubbed them gently, then pulled the photo closer. Her family smiled back. Mom, Dad, little brother, all gone now, but still here. In her head she whispered to them, one day at a time, like always. The lights dimmed again. She lay down, closed her eyes. Sleep came quick and deep. Dreams of open fields, running forever, never stopping, never falling, always moving forward. The Academy had only begun to see what Earth power really meant. The days turned into weeks at the Galactic Combat Academy, and the mocking grew louder with each passing session. Lieutenant Mara Voss stayed in the baseline group, where the instructors kept things simple. But even here, the aliens found ways to poke fun at her. One morning in the endurance chamber, the room filled with thick mist that burned lungs and stung eyes. The Vorans stood tall, their crystal skin glowing as they breathed easy through hidden filters. They bragged loud about lasting hours in worse conditions on their home moons. Mara ran the course with steady steps, her legs pumping even when the mist turned hot and heavy. She coughed once, then controlled her breathing like she learned in high-altitude training back on Earth. She finished the lap just behind the last Voran, who turned and laughed. "You humans choke so fast. Your air must be pure candy at home." She wiped sweat from her brow and said nothing. She just walked to the side wall, leaned against it, and waited for the next drill. In zero-gravity sparring, the chamber spun slow to keep everyone floating. The tentacled cadets from the gas giants moved like water. They wrapped limbs around targets and squeezed with crushing force. They laughed when Mara pushed off a wall too slow. At first, her body twisted awkward in the lack of pull. One tentacled trainee drifted close and mocked. "Your Earth power needs gravity to work. Without it, you drift like dead leaf. Remove the pull of your little dirt ball, and you are nothing." Mara grabbed a handhold, spun herself faster, then kicked off hard. She slammed into a practice dummy with enough force to dent its metal skin. The instructor noted it on his slate, but the others still chuckled. "Weak push for a Death Worlder," they said. The real laughter came during strength assessments in the main training pit. The floor gleamed under bright lights made of ceramite, thick enough to take hits from heavy weapons. Aliens stepped up one after another. A hulking Tauran lifted bars loaded. Past 200 units, his horns scraped the ceiling as he roared in triumph. A Clithian, with 4 arms, spun a weighted staff so fast it hummed, then smashed a plasteel plate into dust. The crowd cheered each time. When Mara's turn came, the jeering started before she even stepped into the circle. "Look, the fragile one comes now," someone called. "Do not break a finger, human," another added. "She will cry when the pad pushes back." Mara walked forward, calm as always. She stood in front of the calibrated strike pad, a simple square of dense material, hooked to sensors that measured force in galactic standard units. The instructor set it to basic level, easy for most species, even baseline ones. Mara planted her feet wide shoulder-width apart. She rolled her shoulders once, cracked her knuckles soft under the gloves, then exhaled slow. She drew her right fist back, turned her hips, and drove forward in a clean, straight punch. The impact rang out, sharp like metal hitting metal. 1.4 times galactic baseline. A polite ripple of claps spread through the watchers. Some aliens nodded, others smirked. The same Clithian who mocked her on day 1 crossed all 4 arms and drawled, "Adorable. Our children hit harder during playfights on the nursery rocks." The crowd laughed louder this time. A few slapped knees or clicked mandibles in delight. Mara lowered her hand, shook it once to loosen the sting, then walked back to her place in line. Her face stayed even. No anger, no shame, just quiet focus. That afternoon in the mess hall, the stories spread fast. Cadets sat in clusters, recounting the punch like it was the funniest thing they saw all week. One insectoid trainee rubbed feelers together and clicked. "She thinks that is power. Wait until we get to plasma-charged strikes. She will melt like wet paper." Tira, the small avian from Calix, sat with Mara again. She pecked at her food, then leaned close. "They talk too much," she whispered. "You hit clean, stronger than they admit." Mara took a bite of protein strip and chewed slow. Maybe she said, "Words are easy, hits are hard. Night after night the barracks filled with boasts. Aliens told tales of homeworld battles, crushing storms, giant beasts slain with bare hands or natural weapons. Mara listened from her bunk. She never joined in. She just stared at the ceiling, photo of her family on the small desk beside her. Sometimes she flexed her hands, remembering old gyms on Earth, the smell of sweat, the thud of bags, the crack of leather gloves on heavy canvas. She thought about coaches who yelled until she got form right, about sparring partners who pushed her until she dropped, then helped her up again. Humans did not quit. That was the secret. No fancy biology, just refusal to stop. The next week brought ranged combat drills, energy pistols and rifles set to low power for training. Most aliens handled the weapons smooth. Their extra limbs or natural grips gave perfect control. A crystalline Voron fired perfect groupings every shot on target. He turned to Mara and sneered. "Your hands shake already, human. How will you aim without augment stabilizers?" Mara took the pistol, gripped it firm, two-handed stance, feet planted. She breathed out slow, squeezed the trigger. The bolt hit dead center. Then the next, and the next. 5 shots all grouped tight within a handspan. The instructor raised a brow again. "Good grouping, baseline. Keep it up." The Voron huffed. "Luck." She said nothing. In hand-to-hand practice, the instructors paired cadets randomly. Mara drew a wiry insectoid with sharp forelimbs. He clicked in amusement. "This will be quick. Soft skin." He lunged fast, claws out. She sidestepped smooth, caught his wrist, twisted, and threw him over her hip. He landed hard on the mat, chitin clacking against ceramite. The room went quiet for a second. Then murmurs started. She cheated, gravity trick. No, she used technique. He stood up, rubbed his side, and glared. Beginner luck. Next round he came harder. She ducked, weaved, blocked a strike. Countered with a short jab to his thorax. He staggered, coughed, green fluid, and yielded. The instructor called hold. "Good throw, Voss." The mocking did not stop, but it changed tone. Some laughs sounded forced, others came with sideways glances, like they started to wonder. The Clythians still led the jeers, but fewer joined him now. Tira fluttered to Mara's bunk one evening. "They fear you a little," she said. "Not much, but a little." Mara pulled off her gloves, looked at bruised knuckles, and smiled thin. "Maybe," she answered. "Fear comes before respect. Respect comes from proof." Week 2 ended with a group endurance march through the low oxygen tunnels. Cadets carried heavy packs, ran, climbed, crawled through tight spaces. Most baseline species lagged behind, gasping. Mara kept pace near the front. Sweat soaked her jumpsuit, but her breathing stayed even. She helped a struggling jelly being over a high ledge, lifted him when his tank wheels stuck. No one asked her to. She just did it. In its own language, Mara nodded once, kept moving. Back in the barracks that night, the whispers grew different this time. A Taran cadet grumbled, "She does not tire like the others." A tentacled one added, "She learns moves after one look, like she copies minds." The Clythian snapped, still weak, her punch barely registered. "She will break when real pressure comes." The others nodded, but doubt crept into their voices. Mara lay on her bunk, eyes closed. She thought about the title they gave her in secret, the Fragile One. She smiled in the dark. Fragile things bend. They do not always break. Sometimes they snap back harder. She flexed her hand once, felt the familiar ache, then let it go. Tomorrow brought more drills, more eyes, more chances to show what Earth really built into its people, one slow, stubborn step at a time. The academy lights dimmed, sleep cycle began. Mara drifted off, dreaming of long runs on dirt trails, feet pounding, never stopping, wind in her face, heart steady, always forward, the end. Others could laugh all they wanted. Laughter faded when the floor started to crack. The weeks stretched longer at the Galactic Combat Academy, and the air in the baseline training pits started to feel different. Lieutenant Mara Voss moved through drills with the same quiet focus she always had. But now, some cadets watched her longer. Others stopped mid-laugh when she passed by. Whispers followed her, like shadows in the corridors. She does not complain. She never quits. She learns too fast. The words mixed with the old mockery, but the mockery sounded thinner now, less sure. Instructors noticed it too. During technique drills, they paired cadets to practice alien fighting styles. Mara drew a tall, slender Voron with crystal arms that could vibrate at high speeds to shatter stone. The Voron demonstrated once, a whipping strike that cracked a training dummy in half. He turned to Mara. "Try it. Soft skin. You will probably cut yourself." She stepped forward, copied the motion exactly. After one look, her arm whipped out clean. The dummy cracked along the same line. Enough. The Voron blinked. His crystals flickered in surprise. "How did you?" She shrugged. "Watched you once. Now I try." The instructor marked her slate. "High adaptation for baseline. Keep going." Word spread through the barracks that night. A tentacled cadet floated near Mara's bunk and muttered, "She copies moves, like she steals them from your head." No one argued this time. Tira, the small avian perched on the edge of her own bunk, above Mara, whispered, "They start to respect you a little, even if they hide it." Mara pulled her gloves off, rubbed sore knuckles and said, "Respect is earned, not given. We keep going until they see." The next big test came without warning. The Advanced Combat Evaluation instructors announced it at morning assembly. The Tiered Challenge, a series of targets built from stronger and stronger materials. Plasteel at level 1, then reinforced alloys, monomolecular lattice at the highest. No cadet from baseline had ever passed level 6. Most stopped at 4 or 5. Trainees sometimes reached 9, but level 10 stayed untouched. A solid adamantine plate, nobody cracked it in training history. Cadets gathered in the main pit. Seats filled fast. Aliens from every group came to watch. Even the instructors stood at the edges, arms crossed or tentacles coiled. The reigning champion, Gorvax, the massive Tauren, went first. He charged the targets one after another, his horns lowered, shoulders driving forward. Level 1 shattered easy. Level 2, 3, 4, 5, he grunted louder with each hit. Level 6 cracked under his weight. Level 7 bent but held. Level 8 he hit so hard the floor shook but the plate stayed whole. Level 9 he roared, dug deep and smashed through with a final horn thrust. Sparks flew, ceramite dust filled the air. The crowd cheered loud. Gorvax stood panting, chest heaving, horns chipped but proud. He turned to the watchers. "Nobody beats 9 this cycle, maybe never." The instructor called next, Mara Voss. The pit went quiet. Then murmurs rose. Walked to the center calm. Steps, boots soft on the floor. She looked at the tiered setup. Targets lined up in a row. Each one tougher than the last. The adamantine plate, at level 10, loomed at the end. 3 meters wide, thick as a ship hull, designed to stop debris from orbital strikes. The same Clithian who always mocked her leaned forward in the seats and called out, "Show us this famous earth power, fragile one. Do not hurt your hand." The laughter came, but it sounded nervous. Now fewer voices joined in. Mara ignored it. She rolled her shoulders once, stretched her arms slow, circled her wrists to loosen them. She stepped up to level 1 first. The plasteel target waited, simple. She planted feet, exhaled, drove a straight punch. The plate split clean in two, pieces clattered to the floor. Easy. The crowd made soft sounds, surprise mixed with doubt. Level 2, reinforced alloy. She hit again, fist connected, solid. The material folded inward, cracks spread outward. She moved to level 3, without. Each target fell faster than the last. Level 4 crumpled under her jab. Level 5 shattered with an uppercut. She breathed steady. Sweat started on her brow. but her form stayed perfect. Hips turned, shoulder drove, fist traveled straight. No wasted motion, no fancy spins, just clean power from the ground up. Level 6. The monomolecular lattice bent, then snapped. She shook her hand once, kept going. The murmurs grew louder now. She should stop at 6. Baseline never goes past. She hits like medium, maybe high, someone whispered. The Clithian crossed his arms tighter, his grin faded a little. Level 7. The instructor raised the reinforcement. The plate glowed under stress fields. Mara stepped close, planted again, punched. The impact rang out deep, like thunder in a cave. The plate cracked wide, a chunk fell free. Level 8. She hit harder this time. Knuckles bled a little through the gloves, but she did not flinch. The material folded inward, deep dents showed. Level 9. She paused for 1 second. Breath, then drove forward with everything. The plate exploded outward. Shards flew. Safe barriers caught them. The crowd gasped. Some stood up. Now only level 10 remained. The adamantine plate untouched. Perfect surface gleaming under lights. The instructor looked at Mara one last time. This is maximum reinforcement. Nobody breaks it in training ever. You sure you want to try? She met his eyes, nodded once. She walked to the center, faced the plate, rolled her neck side to side, cracked her knuckles under bloody gloves. She closed her eyes for a second, remembered dusty gyms on Earth, old coaches yelling, form, feet, hips, shoulder, fist, the burn of long sessions, the refusal to quit when arms screamed. She opened her eyes, planted feet wide, took one deep breath. The pit went dead silent. Every eye locked on her. Even Gorvax leaned forward, horns lowered like he expected something big. Mara turned her hips, slow at first, then fast. Shoulder snapped forward, arm extended, fist flew in a perfect line. Glow, no energy, scream just human muscle, bone, and will. The impact hit like a cannon shot. A sharp crack echoed through the chamber. The adamantine plate starred instantly. Spiderweb fractures raced across its face in every direction. Then the ceramite training floor beneath her buckled. Deep radial cracks shot outward in a 5-meter circle. Chunks of reinforced composite dropped into the sublevels, with loud metallic clangs. Alarms shrieked. Red lights flashed. The whole section of the academy trembled. Dust rained from overhead panels. Mara stood in the center of the new crater, fists still extended, breathing even steady. The adamantine plate split clean in two, halves lay on either side, smoking at the edges, her jumpsuit sleeve torn at the shoulder, blood trickled from split knuckles. But she did not move. She just lowered her hands slow and looked around at the stunned faces. The Clithian sat frozen, all forearms limp, his mouth open, no sound came out. Gorvax stared, horns drooping. Voron's crystals dimmed to dull gray. The tentacled ones floated still, like they forgot how to move. Tira perched high in the seats, feathers fluffed in shock. One senior drill sergeant stepped forward, voice rough. "What is that, human?" Mara met his gaze, calm as ever. She flexed her bloody hand once, then spoke low, but clear enough for all to hear. "It is called persistence. My people did not get claws or venom or armor. We got the ability to keep going when everything says stop. We chase until the prey drops. We hit until the rock breaks. And we do it on a world that tried to kill us every day for 1,000,000 years." She glanced at the ruined floor, then back at the silent crowd. "You laughed because you never had to earn strength the hard way. Welcome to what baseline really means." The alarms still wailed, but nobody moved to shut them off. Every alien in the pit stared at the small human in the crater, at the broken plate, at the cracked floor, at the blood on her gloves. Nobody laughed. Nobody mocked. The silence stretched long and heavy. Mara wiped her hand on her jumpsuit, turned and walked out of the pit, stepped steady, even with the ache starting in her bones. Behind her, The Academy began to wake from shock. Whispers started soft at first, then louder, but different now. Not jokes, not jeers, questions, wonder, maybe even fear. The Fragile One had just shown them something new, something they never expected from Earth, something they could not laugh away anymore. The nickname would change soon enough, but for now, the Floorbreakers stood tall in their minds, and the Academy would never look at humans the same way again. The silence in the main pit stretched long after the alarm started wailing. Red lights flashed across every wall. Dust still floated down from the cracked ceiling. Chunks of ceramite lay scattered like broken teeth in the sublevels below. Lieutenant Mara Voss stood alone in the center of the crater. Her right fist still half raised. Blood dripped slow from split knuckles onto the ruined floor. She breathed steady, chest rising and falling. Even her black jumpsuit hung torn at one shoulder. Sweat mixed with dust on her face. But her hazel eyes stayed calm, looking out at the stunned crowd. Every alien in the seats sat frozen. The Clithian with 4 arms had his mouth open. No sound came out. His limbs hung limp like wet ropes. Gorvax, the Tauran champion, leaned forward. So far his horns almost touched the railing. His massive chest heaved, but he made no move. The Voron's crystals had gone dull gray. No sparkle left. The tentacled cadets floated motionless, forgotten how to drift. Tira perched high, feathers puffed out wide, her beak parted in shock. Instructors stood at the edges, data slates forgotten in their hands. One scanner smoked from overload. Sparks popped soft from its casing. The senior drill sergeant Kor stepped forward first. His heavy boots crunched over fallen debris. He stopped at the edge of the crater, looked down at the split adamantine plate halves, smoking at the edges. Then up at Mara. His voice came rough, thick with something new. What in all the stars was that, human? Mara lowered her hand slow, flexed her fingers once, wincing at the fresh sting of open cuts. She met his gaze straight, and spoke low, but clear enough for the whole pit to hear. It was just a punch, Sergeant. Nothing more, nothing fancy. Kor stared harder. His horns twitched once. You call that just a punch? You split adamantine. You cracked reinforced ceramite, rated for starship impacts. The floor buckled under you. Nobody has done that, not in 1,000 cycles, not ever. Shoulder, the torn fabric shifted. She wiped blood on her thigh, leaving a dark streak. Our bodies work different. We build power from the ground up, through the legs, hips, core, shoulder, arm, fist. It travels clean, no waste. We train it until it becomes habit, until the body does it without thinking. The crowd started to stir. Murmurs rose soft at first, then louder. Cadets leaned toward each other, whispering fast. She did not use energy fields. No augment scream, no plasma charge, just meat and bone. How does meat break adamantine? Gorvax finally spoke, his voice deep rumbling, but quieter than usual. That was no baseline strength. That was something else. Mara turned her head, looked at him straight. Our baseline is not your baseline, Gorvax. We come from a world that punished weakness every day. Predators, diseases, cold, heat, starvation. We did not get born with armor or claws or venom. We got stubborn. We got the drive to keep moving when everything says stop. We hunt by running prey until it drops from tired. Legs, we fight by hitting until the other stops getting up. She paused, looked down at the crater, at her own boots, half sunk in broken composite, then back up. We call it persistence. It is not magic. It is millions of years of refusing to die easy. You laugh because your strength comes fast, born in the shell or the egg or the high-gravity cradle. Ours comes slow. One hard day after another, one bruise after another, one failure turned into lesson. The Clithian found his voice at last. It cracked a little. You cheated somehow. Gravity trick or hidden tech or Mara cut him off. Calm. No tricks, no tech. Just this. She lifted her bloody right hand, turned it slow, so they could see the swollen knuckles, the fresh splits, the old scars underneath. White lines from years of breaking skin on bags, mitts, opponents. You mocked Earth power because you saw small bodies, no extra limbs, no natural weapons, no glowing skin. You saw soft skin, thin bones, short reach, and you thought weak. Out of the crater. Careful over the jagged edges. Boots scraped loud in the quiet. Her voice carried farther now. You never asked what happens when soft skin wraps hard will, when thin bones learn to align perfect, when short reach turns into focus snap. We do not hit with arms alone. We hit with everything, legs pushing, hips twisting, back straight, shoulder driving, elbow locked, wrist firm, fist tight. We hit like the whole planet pushes behind us, because in a way, it does. Earth raised us mean, kept us alive by making us mean back. An instructor from the side, a wiry, multi-eyed being spoke up, voice shaking. Scanners say your force peaked at 27 times galactic baseline for unenhanced flesh. That should not be possible. Bones should shatter, muscles should tear. Mara flexed her hand again, slow, careful. Yes, they tear sometimes, they shatter sometimes. We wrap them, tape them, ice them, rest one day, then go back. We do not stop because it hurts. We stop when the job finishes. That is the end. Difference. Gorvax stood up slow. His bulk made the seats creak. He walked down the steps, horns low, respectful. He stopped a few paces from Mara, looked her up and down, then bowed his head, once deep. I was wrong, he said. Simple. I called you fragile. I laughed. I see now, you carry a death world inside your skin. One punch showed more than 1,000 boasts. The crowd murmured agreement. Some nodded. Others looked away ashamed. Tira fluttered down, landed light on Mara's shoulder. She chirped soft. Thank you for showing them. Mara reached up gentle, touched one feather. No thanks needed, little one, just truth. The alarms finally cut off. Someone in the control room found the override. Silence returned. Thick, heavy. Core cleared his throat loud. We will need to repair the pit. This will take days, maybe weeks. Until then, training moves to secondary bays. He looked at Mara. Voss, report to medical for those hands. Then to my office. We need to talk about moving you up out of baseline. You do not belong there. Anymore. Mara nodded once. Understood, Sergeant. She turned to leave. The crowd parted fast. No one blocked her path. Cadets stepped back quick. Some saluted awkward. Others just stared, eyes wide. She walked steady, even with the ache starting deep in her arm. The blood dried sticky on her gloves. In the corridor outside, whispers followed her again, but different now. Not jokes, not jeers, questions, real ones. Did you see the crack spread, how fast she moved after the hit? She never even grunted. The nicknames started right there, in hushed voices. Floorbreaker. They said it soft at first. Then louder. Floorbreaker. Floorbreaker. Back in the barracks that night, cadets gathered, different this time. No boasts, no bragging stories about homeworld glory. Instead, they talked about her. Tira sat on Mara's bunk, while she soaked her hands in a med basin. Clear fluid bubbled soft around the cuts. They come to watch you now, Tira said. Even the apex ones. They pretend casual, but they watch. Watched water drip from fingers. Maybe she answered. Maybe they learned something. She dried her hands careful, wrapped fresh bandages, then lay back on her bunk, stared at the ceiling. Photo of her family smiled back from the desk. She whispered. Quiet, like always. One day, one punch, one step. The academy shook today, not from weapons, not from ships, from one human who refused to break. Outside, repair drones hummed, already crawling over the crater. Welding sparks lit the dark. The floor would heal, the plate would replace, but the memory stayed, burned in every mind. There in the pit, a small human from a quiet blue world had shown them what real power looked like. Not born, not given, earned, slow, stubborn, bloody, and unbreakable. The whispers spread through the whole academy. By morning, new human recruits, due in weeks, would arrive to a different place. No laughter waiting, no fragile one taunts, just one warning, passed cadet to cadet. Never laugh at a human's punch, never mock their earth power. Because when they hit the floor, breaks first, Mara closed her eyes. Sleep came deep. No dreams of running this time, just rest, ready for whatever came next. The galaxy had seen one glimpse of what humans carried inside. Now it would never forget. The days after the crater formed in the main pit changed everything at the Galactic Combat Academy. Lieutenant Mara Voss became the center of quiet attention wherever she walked. Cadets stepped aside, instructors nodded once with new respect. Even the repair drones seemed to move slower around her, as if they knew the floor still bore her mark. Her hands stayed wrapped in fresh bandages for a week. The cuts healed fast thanks to Medgel, but the scars would stay, small white lines to remember the punch. In the secondary training bays, while crews welded the main pit back together, Mara trained alone at first, then not alone. Cadets from every group started showing up. Baseline, medium, high, even a few apex ones. They stood at the edges, watched silent. No jeers, no laughs, just eyes following her every move. She ran laps, lifted bars, sparred dummies, punched pads, the same way, always clean, always from the ground up, hips twist, shoulder drive, fist snap, no show, no waste. Tauren Champion walked in alone, his horns lowered. No roar, no charge. He stopped a respectful distance away and spoke low. Human, I want to learn your form. Not the charge, not the horn smash. The way you build power from nothing. Mara looked at him, wiped sweat from her brow and nodded. Sure, big guy. Stand here, feet wide, like this. She demonstrated slow. He copied. Awkward at first. His massive frame made the motion look strange, but he tried again and again. She corrected. Gentle hips, more turn, core tight, elbow in. He grunted thanks each time. Sweat dripped from his brow. For the first time, he felt what it meant to earn strength, slow. Word spread fast. Soon small groups formed around Mara. In off hours she taught basics, stance, breath, timing, how to make the body a single line of force, how to hit without breaking yourself first. The Clithian who mocked her loudest on the first day came last. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed, tight face dark. Then he stepped forward, cleared his throat. I was wrong, he said simple. I laughed. I called you fragile. Teach me. Mara met his eyes, held them long, then nodded. Okay, come here. Plant your feet. Roll your shoulders, like this. He learned slow. Forearms made it hard at first, but he kept trying. No complaints, no excuses. When he finally landed a clean punch on the pad, the numbers climbed higher than his old best. He stared at the readout, blinked, then looked at Mara. Thank you. She shrugged. Just keep practicing. It gets better with time. Tira, the small avian, fluttered everywhere with her. Now perched on shoulders, or hovering close, she chirped questions, asked for tips, shared stories of Skyring's battles. Mara listened, smiled, answered. Simple humans do not fly. We run, we climb, we swim, we adapt. Tira fluffed feathers. I like that. Adapt. We all need to adapt more. Instructors called Mara to meetings often. Now they moved her out of baseline, put her in a mixed group where she trained with high and apex cadets. At first, the others watched, wary, then curious. Then, eager, they asked about Earth, asked about persistence hunting, about Death World life. She answered honest. No bragging, just facts. Our world has big cats with teeth like knives, snakes with venom, storms that flood whole lands, deserts that cook you, cold that freezes lungs. We did not hide, we faced it, ran from predators until they tired, fought with sticks, stones, fists, teeth, whatever we had. We got smarter, we got tougher, we got mean when we needed to. One evening in the mess hall, The whole academy seemed quieter. Cadets ate, talked low. Stories shifted from homeworld boasts to questions about humans. New recruits arrived soon. Shuttle logs showed 3 more from Earth, due in days. The baseline group prepared a welcome different from what they got. No laughter, no Fragile One jokes. Instead, they planned to show respect, first thing. The night before the new humans landed, Mara sat on her bunk alone. Bandages gone, hands healed except faint pink lines. She looked at the family photo. Brothers' smiles frozen in time. She touched the frame, gentle whispered, "We did it. One punch at a time, one stubborn day. You would like this place. Now, they see us different." Morning came. Bright klaxons called assembly. The shuttle bay doors opened. 3 new humans stepped out. 2 men, 1 woman. All young, eyes wide taking in the huge hangar, the alien faces, the glowing walls. Mara stood at the front with Tira on her shoulder, Gorvax beside her, the Clithian nearby, arms uncrossed. For once, the crowd parted, respectful. The lead instructor spoke loud. "Welcome new cadets from Earth. You join a changed academy. Here we know what human power means." He gestured to Mara. "This is Lieutenant Voss, Floorbreaker. She showed us baseline can break more than we thought. Learn from her, respect her path." The new recruits stared at Mara. One stepped forward, saluted. "Crisp, ma'am. We heard stories on the way here, about the training floor, about the punch." Mara returned the salute. Easy, at ease, just Mara. "Here we train hard, we help each other. We do not quit. That is all you need to know." The new humans joined training that day. Mara paired with them, showed form, corrected stance, encouraged when they missed, praised when they hit clean. The academy watched and learned more. Every cadet now carried a small lesson inside. Never underestimate the small, quiet one. Never laugh at the short reach. Never mock the soft skin, because under it beats a heart that refuses to stop. Months passed, the repaired main pit gleamed, new ceramides stronger than before. The adamantine plate got replaced, thicker this time. Instructors tested it often. Nobody broke it again, not yet, but they knew, if anyone could, it would be her. Mara kept training, kept teaching, kept quiet when she needed to, loud when words mattered. She ran with Gorvax, sparred with the Clithian, flew drills with Tira, laughed rare but real when something funny happened. The nickname Floorbreaker stuck, forever etched in academy logs, in cadet stories, in the minds of every species there. New aliens arrived every cycle. Some mocked at first, heard the old tales, laughed, then saw her punch, felt the floor tremble under practice mats, heard the stories, watched her teach, saw the respect in Apex eyes, and the laughter died fast, replaced by questions, then training, then understanding. In the end, the Galactic Combat Academy became known for more than warriors. It became known for change. One human showed that strength hides in strange places, in short bodies, in quiet voices, in bloody knuckles, in unbreakable will. The galaxy listened, learned, adapted, just like humans always did. Mara stood on the observation deck one night, looked out at stars, endless black, speckled with light. She flexed her hand, felt the old ache, the good ache, the reminder. She smiled small, whispered to the dark, "Thank you, Earth, for making us the way we are. Stubborn, mean, tough, ready." Somewhere far below, in the main pit, the ceramide floor stained smooth, perfect. The memory lingered, deep in every bolt, every weld. Every cadet who walked across it knew one truth. When a human steps up, plants feet, turns hips, drives shoulder, snaps fist, the impossible breaks first. The floor, the plate, the doubt, the pride, the old ideas about who is strong and who is weak. The stars kept shining, indifferent. The academy kept turning, training warriors from every world. But now, when a human arrived, the welcome changed. No mockery, no jokes, just one quiet sentence passed from cadet to cadet. "Watch close. This one carries Earth power, and when it hits, everything changes. Mara turned from the window, walked back to barracks, steps light, steps sure, ready for tomorrow, another day, another punch, another lesson in what it means to be human in a galaxy full of wonders, and now full of respect for the small, fierce ones who never stop.